Welcome back to Game 2 of Next.kz versus Team Empire. Next.kz, I have to say, I really like their draft in Game 1, but it seems like they just couldn't quite execute it with Vengeful Spirit carry and SF being, well, actually more of the carry than Vengeful Spirit. It was an interesting idea, even an Abaddon thrown in. Very interesting draft, but couldn't quite seem to clinch it up against the powerhouse that is Team Empire. But maybe a different draft, different strategy, and we can get into Game 2 where they might be able to upset, and I can welcome in my co-caster, Clairvoyance. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much, man. Just watching how the draft pans out in this second game, and it looks like both teams not only swapped the sides, but they swapped positions as well, because Next.kz taking the page out of Empire's book and picking up two Empire signature heroes off the bat, while Empire taking the Totem, which is somewhat expected, but picking up the Naga Siren for themselves after banning the Centaur is something that I would not characterize of them. And of course the Bane pickup last is kind of obvious because the Shadow Demon is being banned, and with Naga Dazzle being out in the sense that it's already picked and banned as well, Bane was the next definite option that Next.kz would have liked to block if they could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to be able to have that free sort of arrow combo with the Bane Mirana, and it looks like I'm going to DC out. Like, not only am I working like, oh, we had issues with the stream, I'm working from a totally new studio that I've only casted once before. We're having all these issues, and now Steam, don't fail me now. But we do have Bat Rider, Ancient Apparition, Dazzle, Shadow Demon, Dragon Knight, as well as Storm Spirit, all banned away, and there goes that DC.
Mm-hmm. This whole Join Dota studio debacle, is it like all in one building and you just have multiple rooms of different studios, or?
Mm-hmm. Basically, how our offices work, how our company, Freaks for You Gaming, is what is a company that actually outsources a couple different websites. They run a League of Legends website, some casting as well. They got StarCraft, German casting is on top of that, and then they have their big project, which is Join Dota. Now, we have our studio, which is always in use, of course, but when we do clash in schedules, like, for example, right now, D2CL, Season 3 was kind of like thrown at us like, hey, guys, we're doing Season 3, and it's going to be starting this Friday, and we're like, oh, Jesus. So when everything starts clashing, we do have to move over to some of the other studios, and used to be that we had Studio 3, which was always kind of open, but they recently brought in a new caster, so he's been using that a lot. So we're having a hard time finding a secondary studio when we do clash and we have to have multiple streams going on at once. That, of course, will be solved in not too long. We're actually moving. I'm not sure, Clairvoyance, if you've heard about this, but our big upstairs move. Yeah, we got like our company rented out a whole new floor. We're doing a whole bunch of construction. All new studios are going to be built upstairs. In fact, they're practically done by now. When it comes to construction-wise, of course, when we move upstairs, we still have to actually get more equipment for, multiple studios and that sort of thing. But it's going to be a big upgrade for us.
Wow, quite the move forward, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. It's one hell of a project, man. I gotta tell you, like it's a lot of money being put into those new studios, but it's all going to be worth it, guys. When you see the new studio and what we have planned, it's going to be very, very exciting stuff. So we're going to be moving up there, I think, in just a couple of weeks. But of course, we still have to actually, that's just like the construction is done. And then at that point, we have to actually build a whole new studio. But when that is all done, it's going to be fabulous, guys. But let's get back to this game where we're going to have a tiny whisk combo. So that's certainly something much different. I do like the fact that Next.kz, it seems like some teams, they, in fact, I oftentimes classify Empire as this, is when they go into the draft, it feels like they do more counterpicking than working on their own strategies. Whereas you compare that to, of course, they don't have their own strategies, but they do a lot of counterpicking, I feel. Whereas a team like Fnatic, they have these like all-in strategies where they have like every single hero already figured out. It doesn't matter really too much what the enemy team picks or bans. They've already thought out what they want to have as all 5 heroes, and then they have those alternate picks where, oh, like X hero got banned out, we'll take this instead. And it feels like Next.kz, they're kind of running that same way. I felt like it was a very interesting strategy running with the Vengeful Spirit, the Abaddon as a support, and then the SF. I saw like a lot of synergy within their own lineup. It's just unfortunate they couldn't make it work versus Team Empire's aggression.
Yeah, it was there were certainly demonstrations that were reminiscent of the previous things.
10 seconds
And
remaining.
pardon me to interrupt, but like every time I'm talking, I'm just hearing this.
5
I'm hearing this
seconds
robot come
remaining.
out. Oh, okay, that's been reduced now, so I think you got that sorted out on your end. But regardless, both lineups that we've seen
Waiting
so
for team
far
pick.
from both teams are pretty reminiscent. And even this
Mhm.
one, as you said, like the first lineup being picked up by Next.kz, similar to Fnatic in many senses. I think Empire's lineup resonates a lot in EG's recent pickups, or very very old school VP. If you toss in like a disruptor there or something.
Mhm.
But I'm still a little bit doubtful about this Naga Siren pickup by Empire. I mean, every time I've seen Empire play the Naga, it was Van score on it
10
on the support
seconds
Naga.
remaining.
But this game, I'm wondering if they want to put it mid because the Wisp
5
Tiny, like,
seconds remaining.
there's not many heroes that can solo up against it. I mean, I'm not too sure if there's any even after all the Wisp nerfs. But Naga Siren is one of the heroes that can actually do very well because Riptide can harass both the IO as well as the Tiny.
Mhm.
And she has 6 base armor and immense movement speed that she can actually outrun the Wisp without tether. So,
You
I
know,
mean, even with tether.
10 seconds
that's a really good point. Looking at this, I'm actually the big thing I'm concerned about right now for Team Empire is that I think their hero that they wanted was banned out. They took away the Sand King, which Always Wanna Fly had a fantastic performance in Star Ladder with that hero, and it works with their lineup, right? They lead with the Naga Siren Sleep, they get everything set up, they start channeling the Epicenter, and then they let go of the Sleep. You have a vacuum group up together. The Blinken, Sand King are already as Epicenter going in burrow strikes. They land an arrow as well somewhere in the side, and it's just like 2 or 3 heroes are instantly gone from the team fight, just all from that initiation. Instead, though, they're going to go for the Enigma. So instead, they're going to have that big black hole. So the vacuum black hole combo will be available to Team Empire.
5
Yeah,
seconds
this is a lot more easier, I would say, when
Mhm.
it comes to the execution. I mean, it can't be that hard, right? With the Naga Siren Sleep, you arrow at one target, it's a guaranteed 5-second arrow most of the time. The Enigma Black Hole as well as the Darkseer to just vacuum in any targets that are missing. But the question then becomes like, how will the Naga do in the lane? It's really the only thing that's on my mind at this point. Like Naga Siren counters up a lot of Next.kz's heroes, with the AA Ice Blast and the Wisp Tiny rotations. You can shut that down with the sleep. Bat Rider, one of the most hardest traditional counters to the Bat Rider in the game is the Naga Siren, who can just sleep through the lasso. And basically, what that just does is Bat Rider blinks into your team and proceeds to die after the sleep is over, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it really will come down to the laning phase because Empire put a lot of marbles with their heroes. Like Mirana Bane is one of the strongest safe lane dual combos in the game. Darkseer is one of the most disruptive offlaners in the sense that he can stay alive and farm. And if they can abuse the Enigma pick and have him rotate at one point to get one kill, even just one kill, it's gonna hinder the process of Next.kz's level gains in the lane, and that's gonna help a lot when it comes to shutting down their potential mid game. But Alchemist is a really nice pickup here. I'm not too sure if they have the sufficient supports to let him get the farm that he's looking for, but it will probably be a mid lane Alchemist, so I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I like that idea. You were talking about how the Naga Siren was going to be really effective versus Next.kz, and so instead of trying to run that Tiny in that middle lane, what other mid hero could they go for? Now, Alchemist is still, I'm kind of concerned about the Alchemist early on in this laning phase because he's still a very, very low armor hero. Just like Tiny, man. And he's really going to be feeling this full force of Riptide. But if he can actually go through the laning phase fine, survive, get some decent CS, he's going to be a great mid-game hero for them. With the minus armor coming into play, a solid stun being added to what was previously a no disable lineup for Next.kz. Like they have the Tiny stun, they have Avalanche, as well as the lasso. But when you look at your supports, there's nothing coming from those guys. Cold Feet is not a reliable stun by any means, so you kind of needed an extra stun somewhere in there. So picking up that Alchemist, that last pick, will give you that extra set of disables that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very nice addition to their lineup. As for how the Naga Siren versus the Alchemist matchups go, it's like, as you said, Alchemist will feel the force of the Riptide in the early levels, but with the bottle crowing kicking in for both these players, because obviously, looking at the Alchemist build, I mean, they both got the same build going on. They got the 2 pool tangles as well as the 2 branches, which is the most effective mid lane build right now in this patch. You get that bottle up after the first wave, and what ends up happening is they just bottle crow and spam their spells. For the Naga, it's the Riptide, and for the Alchemist, it's going to be the Acid Spray. both of them do a fairly good job of clearing the wave as well as harassing each other. And now Stalcat was actually forced into using his first Firefly, which is going to hurt him quite a bit, even with the boots, because now Vanscore, on top of the forced Firefly, is going to get a double damage rune on Bane, arguably one of the best support heroes in the lane. So
yeah, that's real heavy hitting. I mean, like, Bane starts out with some pretty good attack damage, too. You get that double damage, and holy crap, you're hitting for 122 at level 1. It's just crazy. We'll have to really keep an eye on these supports coming out from Team Empire. Even though, like, Enigma normally likes to sit, he's one of the jungler that is a little bit more passive when you compare it to, like, Chen or Enchantress. He likes to sit in the lane or in the jungle a little bit more and stay passive and just farm up because he's got some big items he needs to have. But I think with the Naga Siren, that constant aggression from Riptide, they could easily make one simple rotation, and I think Alchemist would be a very, very easy kill, especially if you're able to just have one level ensnare. That way you have a Resolution just leading with the ensnare. You've got that slight bit of disabled to get the Enigma or get the Bane close enough to finish him off.
yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the point about the ensnare, because Naga Sirens traditionally right now, how it's played at the mid lane, they actually skip the ensnare, and it's so unfortunate to see for me, because they emphasize the priority of getting this mirror image up ASAP so they can farm the jungle effectively. But that ensnare, like what it can give you when it comes to pressure, like if you get ganked up once as an alchemist with another hero and you got ensnared up in the process, next time you come back to the lane, you're going to be consciously aware of it, saying to yourself, okay, I can't let myself get into a situation where I get netted up and then ganked up afterwards. Like, I can't do that. Like, I can't afford to walk too close to the Naga because I know she can kill me with another hero now. Applying that kind of a mental advantage is really, really big. And most of the time, these Naga Sirens being played at the mid lane right now, they're so passive with this style of summoning up the illusions. So, I mean, it's nice that Resolution gets to farm up the jungle like this, but honestly, like, how effective is it compared to a hero kill? I still don't know.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, just one ensnare, and all of a sudden, like, if you're actually able to get, hell, even if it is in first blood, if it's just a kill in general, chances are you're probably getting more farm out of that level 1 ensnare than ensure to kill, rather than the extra levels of mirror images, which allows you to farm up a little bit more effectively, you know? But Vanscore right now, he's sitting here waiting for the rotation of the bottle, but what a fucka. Still not bringing it out to him just yet. Vanscore is actually going to get seen here by Stalcat. He's kind of in a bad position, but he should be fine with no other heroes in the map, and it just ensures that Stalcat will save this poor little naked Greevil is actually what Next.kz are rocking right now.
Now in the offlane, something nice is happening for Meg. He actually pulled the creep wave into the Dire camp number 5, the big camp there, and that forces the creep wave to bounce back to him. And what he's doing now is, he's farming it up, and he's already level 3 compared to the laners that he's dealing with, who are both level 3 as well. So I would say Meg is doing a tremendously good job in this offlane right now, staying alive as well as farming and harassing.
Yeah, Nate, those higher levels of Ion Shell are going to be just so destructive against Mantis. He's going to be feeling that constant burn. He's already taken through all of his regen. Fortunately, though, he does have a Wisp, who we've seen it time and time again. A really fast bottle on a Wisp is super effective just because it allows you to be able to heal up not only yourself, but also your carry, and also give him some mana, too. So it's got that kind of constant pressure. I love the way Fnatic run it in the middle lane, where they're just like spamming out tosses just because they can, because they're bottle crowing. They have like constant mana. It's just hilarious to watch have a Tiny who's normally like so careful with his mana. He's like, I gotta have that combo at all times. When Fnatic run it, it's just like constant tosses left and right and center.
Yeah, they definitely have the best Wisp Tiny combo in the scene right now. If they get like Radiant first pick or something like that, they'll always go for the Wisp, like no questions about it. They know that they are so darn capable with that hero, and their high aptitude for it is unparalleled to any other team right now. So, I mean, as I say that, like, we see the demonstration by Next.kz, like, even in their safe lane, the Tiny did catch up on CS, but for a long time, Silent on the other side of the map on his safe lane was doubling up the Tiny CS, and now he's actually getting some stuff back, but that's because Mag was kind of getting pressured a little bit more. He's back into the lane, he's going to be spamming Iron Shell a little bit more, and that's going to disrupt the Tiny even further. And he's going to be really, really bothered by this, especially if he chooses to go Midas, which is what it looks like he wants to do. That is not the right item choice for this lineup, not for this matchup, I mean, because at one point he's going to get pressured, he's not going to have items to deal with it. So I hope he doesn't go for Midas.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on Mantis and what he chooses to go here. I mean, it certainly looks like a Midas with 1,600 gold saved up when you could have like treads right now.
Man, yeah, he went for it. Oh, I can't agree with this decision at all. Like ever since the Midas changes to 2.05k gold, like it's actually such a big deal because you effectively lose your first Midas timing, so it's always basically delayed 2 minutes. And sure, you still get the EXP. But right now, with this high pressure, like high aggression in the early game stages, as well as the emphasis on the laning stages, like nobody's gonna let you farm for 20 minutes straight. Like we're not gonna see a Sven get 6 items and then just one-click enemy teams like this. So now Mag is gonna get caught out a little bit, but once again, there's no reliable stuns, and that's the perfect example of that.
Oh, Mag able to juke the avalanche that came in from Mantis, complete whiff. And I guess we're going to stay passive on all sides. Without that one attempt at a kill, still no first blood to be found. And Mag should be pretty wary, knowing that Next.kz, especially now that they're level 5, they've got that higher level of toss. There's certainly a lot of kill potential there if they do land that full combo. You follow it up with some chilling touch hits, and you can't forget about those Wisp Spirits who actually do a deceptive amount of damage. Middle lane, though, WTF gonna get caught out here. Does have his ultimate, gonna pop it. Now he turns. Actually has an unstable concoction. They're gonna go and always want to fly, and that will be our first blood as he falls, and Resolution may go down as well, as they're willing to pursue this all the way in, possibly into tier 2 towers. One more hit, and Resolution will fall, so a double kill going the way of Next.kz. What a big pickup for them, though, because now... Oh, Stallcat, what did you do? He actually went down the cliff, is now stuck inside the trees, and he still needs another good 20 mana before he can teleport away.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, he didn't even break any trees to get into that situation, so that was just weird pathing coming out of him. But honestly, though, I think that right there gave a really good demonstration of why I feel like Alchemist should get picked more. I still think this hero is top pick material because his ultimate, I mean, they changed the mechanics of it so many times. They nerfed numbers, they completely overhauled it and made it pure regen like it now. But Alchemist after level 6, he becomes almost impossible to gank with a lot of the conventional supports because he just out-regens everything that a support hero throws at him. So it's basically like if you have enough HP to survive whoever your mid laner is, and Nagasara, she has that Riptide burst, but she doesn't have too much to follow up unless she has the Ensnare to guarantee more right clicks. It becomes really, really tough to gank this hero up, and so it's naturally a mismatch for Resolution if he doesn't get net, and he really didn't get net. So what's gonna happen is WTF is gonna pop his ulti and he's just gonna turn around because he knows with acid spray he has better sustained damage than the Riptide.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good point because I've been kind of ranting about this lately, but we have so many supports. I feel like we've been getting really greedy, and it's a lot of damage over time coming out from those supports. So you're right, Alchemist, he, like you said it perfectly, he's going to be able to out-regen anything the current supports can throw at him. We're not actually going a whole lot of like really nuke heavy like we did 5 or 6 patches ago. Instead, there's a lot of damage over time heroes that are being favored, and they are kind of classified as greedy because they can't actually get as many early kills. They do a lot more going into the mid game, but they certainly can be punished by a lot of tanky heroes. Now, right now, tier 2 getting very, very low, but Empire being forced back is now WTF and Stallcat making their way in. Unfortunately, though, with the Moonlight Shadow, they can't actually go on anybody. And Empire looking like they almost want to turn this, but Moonlight Shadow will run out eventually here. Always want to fly, and his team are still sticking around. Now, WTF pops the unstable concoction. They do successfully get the tower here, but in exchange, they're going to find Vance Core. Arrow goes down, lands on WTF, but Silent can't do anything about that. Alchemist is just too damn big. But a tier 2 that early on, pre-10 minutes, in exchange for support, that's not a bad exchange there for Empire.
No, it's not. Especially considering the fact that Max solo killed up the Tiny who bought the Midas at the top lane. Not shabby at all, Cap. And it's only going to get worse because he's not only creep skipping and pulling the enemy creep wave, but he has a soul ring as well as a shell ready available for the next rotation. And Mantis is doing a good job reacting. He's trying to come up to harass Mag or possibly just drive him away. But if Mag keeps iron shelling the wave like this Tiny with Midas, he has no reason to be able to combat it. He's always going to take at least like 200 damage just trying to CS. And it's going to hurt him so much because at one point he's just going to have to rotate back or call in for a regen. It's silly. Like, Darkseer versus Tiny, you can't buy Midas in this matchup and expect to do well, especially when your Wisp leaves you. Like, it doesn't work. Just simply doesn't work.
Well, they are about to get a pretty big change up in their team fight orientation. Like right now, they're about to get, not only Wisp is about to get relocate, but they also have Stallcat thinking of Bat Rider. I got automatically think of Mag. But Stallcat, he's going to have his Blink Dagger soon. So they will have that global presence where Stallcat initiates, blinks in, lassos somebody, and then that hold is long enough for the relocate to finish. They get pretty much a free kill every single time. So that will be a big change for Next. And allow them to get really aggressive here, though. Middle lane.
Look at this.
Arrow.
They're going on water pop.
Yep, they
Nice.
get it perfectly. Nicely done. Good combo by Silent and Resolution. Perfectly timed by them. And get a free pick off on that Alchemist.
Yeah, that Naga Siren ulti into Bottom Arrow, guaranteed 5-second stun. Like, that thing right there, that combo is so game-winning. Like, there's so little that you can do against it most of the time because, like, you don't really know when Naga's going to pop that sleep. And the range is, like, 1350, so it's really humongous. It's just in terms of reactions, like there's very heavy limitations on what you can do. But just going back to this Alchemist for a second though, Cap, I personally don't like this Alchemist build honestly, because there's a lot of teams that emphasize this whole mech hero these days, like Alchemists and Dooms who can farm relatively fast in the early game are the ones that choose to get it. There are also strength heroes that don't need too much mana, although Doom kind of needs a lot of mana. So they compensate by either getting mana boots or something, but Alchemist doesn't really need too much. So he gets the mech, he has the bottle, but I feel like Fnatic demonstrated it perfectly the other day. Like, if you just play this Alchemist as a core SF type of carry, he can actually outcarry most heroes with his ultimate as well, because the BAT changes allows him to just attack and hammer away at any targets. But he also just does so much damage with the acid spray as well as the stun. And I think nothing really took that away from him. And the ultimate changes actually benefit him in this regard, because once again, he just out-regens everything when it comes to team fights. So
Stallcat's going to get Mag here, holding him, bring him back. There goes that relocate, now tossing the Wisp into Mag. And the Spirits will be able to finish him off, but at the same time, them Tiny actually did fall to the Ion Shell that was on the creeps over there. So that wasn't actually a good trade at all for Next.kz. So going back to that, I actually do want to continue that line of thought. So what about the fact that they do have a tiny Wisp here, and they're going to be threatened a lot by the mid game? Do you actually think that Alchemist going for a more traditional like core position, going for more damage items, would actually be strong enough in the mid game necessary? I
certainly think so. Now Stalk gets caught in his own jungle, but Empire says no, this is our jungle for now, with 3 heroes sitting in there with the Enigma farming it as well. But yeah, I think the traditional carry Alchemist right now is what's strongest, and I think people undermine that a lot because they think Alchemist needs a lot of farm. But the thing with this hero is, like, once you get one item, and say like he, instead of the mech alone, say he had say he had shreds and mech, he could actually go around killing heroes with the acid spray as well as the unstable concoction, while staying alive with the mech as well as the ultimate to fall back on. And now he's got a haste rune, so that's everything that I said just gets even better. It's like this hero actually does a lot more than people expect him to, and I feel like they undermine the potential a lot because of the nerfs on his ultimate, as well as his stun.
Well, Ice Blast is going to force back Empires. They're trying to take down... Man, Empire doing a really good job. Oh, what a fuck! What was that? He runs right into the arrow. Now the Starstorm. Oh, actually, heal goes out just in time. Mech will save his life there. Silent trying to back away, and Stable Concoction will come out eventually. Relocate in front. That was a weird one. They still able to kill the Mirana. Vanscore trying to teleport away, but the stun will stop him. And so they do get 2 free kills out of that one. Next.kz defend their tower well, and didn't really need Bat Rider, who was apparently sitting middle.
So Reeves actually played that perfectly. I mean, Wadafaga obviously made a huge mistake. I don't think it was a bait, and if it was a bait, it was a next level bait. But basically got caught up without the ultimate. Silent, with his high aptitude for killer instinct, said, okay, I can actually burst you down, and went for the opportunity, but got bailed out by Reeves. You know, he popped the overcharge to reduce damage and popped the urn on himself. Alchemist regen like a madman. As soon as he popped mech, he was basically full HP, not to mention chemical rage. Was able to turn on them, and now there might be another target that goes down because there is a Bat Rider here in proximity.
Bat Rider grabbing Silent, pulling him back. Unstable Concoction goes off. Fiend's Grip goes down, but it's not in time to save Silent. Now Mag is in serious trouble. Gets stunned up instantly as he goes to punch Mantis. And now backing away. Vanscore in some trouble. He's going to get chased into Tier 2, and nobody of Empire making any sort of rotations to save him. Vanscore will fall. He attempts to do the Nightmare to save himself from that Unstable Concoction damage, but it's not in time, as both Resolution and Always Want to Fly just content to sit and farm. They're like, guys, I don't know what you're doing top, but that's a bad fight. We're not going to help you out.
I think it was the fine choice to not assist them there. I mean, everything is going against Empire now. Once again, like this Naga Siren hero being played as a core, it really does not suit Empire's playstyle. Like they're a team that that relies heavily on their team fights. Like they're really really good at team fighting and they're really good with their communication and team fights. But Resolution being forced up to not play the playmaker role but actually take up this core farming position. It's very similar to like when Alliance runs S4 at mid with Naga Siren. It's like it's just very uncharacteristic and not favorable because it's not what they excel at. I mean, that's not to say that they have like bad Naga Sirens. It's just like they're not players that are used to farming up and carrying the game by themselves with this monster hero that split pushes for 50 minutes. They're more used to making the plays and opening up space for their team so their carry can actually make use of it.
Yeah, I mean, I expected to see more of the Fnatic style Naga Siren where Hani runs it. He plays really aggressively. Like he looks for team fights every single time his ultimate is off cooldown because he knows with the right setup with his allies, it's free kills. And he plays it that kind of way. I was expecting the same thing for Empire here. Mantis, though, gonna get caught in the black hole. Relocate's gonna in 2 seconds, but it's not in time. Starstorm will get both of them. So a double kill going the way of Silent. Just what he needed. And the tier 1 tower goes down at top lane. So big influx of gold there for Empire.
Now that in my opinion honestly was just a heavy throw, like because all they have to do right now with the Tiny is sit back on the Midas and farm up the Aghanim Scepter. And as I say that now, Maggie's gonna get caught out. He's gonna die for sure. And when he goes down, oh, I'm gonna have to hold that thought because okay, yeah, it's fine. What if I could drop the stun a little bit too late? And that allowed Mech to kick in for Darkseer, which shouldn't have been possible, but regardless, they still got the kill, so it's fine. Now, going back to that statement, though, I mean, if they just sit back on the Tiny and farm and look for some sort of an overextend instead of forcing themselves into the Empire jungle where they have like 5 different abilities that can shut down the Wisp Tiny combo, then they would be fine. Pardon me. But as it stands right now, Resolution's still getting free farm on his Radiance. And once he gets Boots of Travel, everything's going to be really hard for Next.kz when it comes to rotations.
So, traditionally, I say, like, once the Naga Siren has that Radiance, well, normally you want to try and shut him down before that, but once he does have the Radiance, you like need to really control the Naga Siren, the way he can move out, because otherwise he's going to turn to the fastest farming the carry in the game. He's going to get a huge gold lead at you. But you're saying it's okay if Next.kz allow that to happen. They don't have to be aggressive. They can sit back because they have better late game. It's pretty much what it comes down to, right?
That's right. Like, I think, I don't know about a better late game, honestly, but I think they're certainly, like, strong enough to combat the Siren, even with she's farmed. The thing with this Naga hero is, like, I think a lot of people overestimate her carrying capabilities. Like, this hero, she farms fast, there's no denying that. But she's very similar to Animage in the fact that, in the sense that she needs, like, 4 items to carry effectively. Like, until then, she'll actually still get bursted down in teamfights. Just look at the amount of gold she needs to carry. Like, she needs the Radiance, which is, like, 5k plus. She needs a Boots of Travel, so her abilities can synergize as well as allow her to split push effectively. She needs some sort of a life boosting item, whether it's the heart if you want to get really, really big, really greedy fast, or you get a drums, which is another 2k gold. Like, all of these things, they build up. And the thing with this hero, why she even gets away with this, is that she has that sleep. I still think Naga Siren, aside from her ultimate being too short of a cooldown at level 3, she's pretty balanced. Like, she has many, many solutions, many ways to deal with her. Her illusions aren't all that tanky without heart. Even with Radiance, you just burst down the illusions and you can still push on her without really fearing for anything, because all she has is the Riptide and Radiance. She's like a one-trick pony for like the first 30 minutes. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that her ultimate 60-second cooldown, like with the Boots of Travel, it allows her to do too many things like without getting punished. And that's the real stupidity of the hero. But aside from that, I think she's not that scary at all. Like, there are definitely solutions. The Tiny's one of them. You can just right-click the heck out of her illusions and her, burst them down in like 4 hits. Alchemist with the armor reduction is fantastic as well, because Naga Siren can't kill Alchemist on even items.
Relocate in.
Yeah, thanks.
We're going to have an engagement into the Radiant jungle. They already picked up Van's Court, and they will pick him off real quickly. That was that Bat Rider setup where they just hold somebody in, but they're going to be a bad position here. Reeves, very smartly, doesn't bring him back, but unfortunately Mantis is still getting caught by the Fiend's grip. Reeves trying to save his ally. Good vacuum back. It's actually going to put Reeves in position for that ensnare. Gets 4-step forward, but it's still in the arrow radius. And both heroes do fall. So while they did find that free kind of pick off, that was before both the tier 1 tower was still up. So it means that when you're in this area, you've got 3 different positions, 3 different areas where enemies are going to be coming in and surrounding you on all sides.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Cap. I mean, I honestly think this comes down to experience here. But at this point in the game, every team who's competing should really be aware that when you don't have tier 1 towers, especially like 20 minutes into the game, the potential for TP rotations becomes that much scarier, especially when you're dealing up against a hero like Naga Siren. And when you're ganking up the enemy in so deep in their territory, like there is no doubt in my mind like they should at least expect some sort of rebuttal, because as you said, they can get caved in from 3 different angles, and it's I don't know. I feel like Next.kz, they're kind of baiting themselves into this bad situation. Like they're digging a deeper hole every time they do these kind of rotation, because not only do they lose the Tiny and Wisp, but they lose the map control that follows immediately thereafter. Like look at what Empire is able to do after. They can just walk up to their side of the territory. Last time what happened was they ganked up the enemy in their jungle, and looks like Empire is just pinging it out again because there's a Invis rune on Resolution. Gets spotted out nicely with a sentry, but still, the map control is not in Next.kz's favor right now, even though they're ahead in kills.
Yeah, and the Naga Siren, you talked about how much farm you need to be able to really carry as a Naga Siren. We're halfway there already. Like, the Radiance Boots of Travel is up. Next item should be the Manta, which at that point, you're damn scary. It's only once you get the Heart that you're at that full, really, Naga Siren carry where your illusions are really threatening. And the Radiance is still, like, you rely so much on the Radiance Burn for the Naga Siren carry, and that Radiance Burn is still going to be really effective by the time that Heart is up. Like, we're looking at good 30, 35 minutes. Radiance still does a ton of damage. It's only, like, going in really late game that Naga Siren begins to fall off, because you just like don't really have any good single target damage compared to other carries.
But at that point, of course, the items, especially a 6-slotted Naga, will kick in, and that's when she can carry to the full potential with 5 illusions, with the Manta style as well as a mirror image. But yeah, just as you said, man, like this hero, it takes a long time to kick in, and there's still a good chance for Next.kz. This is a really nice rotation out of them. Getting Silent here is really big.
Yep, Unstable Concoction will hold Silent in place. They did blow the relocate as well, which is kind of unfortunate because they had an opportunity for more kills. But as it is, just the 1 kill on the Mirana is fine. They just go right back to bottom and continue farming up. They need Mantis. Doesn't look like he's going to be going. I was kind of expecting a Assault Cuirass here, especially dealing with like the Riptide minus armor, and you got a lot of burn damage there. But I was kind of expecting an AC, but it looks like he's going to go for a Manta instead.
Well, the trick to this game is like he thinks Manta is the solution because there's like 2 single target abilities that could really shut him down. Which is the Bane Phoenix Grip as well as the Ensnare coming out of Naga. What he doesn't realize with that choice is that he needs a BKB to stay alive in this teamfight. Just imagine if the Naga sleeps and Silent lands a 5-second arrow on this guy, he is done. Without a BKB, there is no way this guy is surviving through the magic damage coming out of Empire, not to mention the disables from the vacuum, from the black hole, all the damage to follow. Like, there is absolutely no way he's staying alive without a BKB, and he's still going for the Manta style. So yeah, pretty much, I would say. I also want to emphasize that without that tier 1 tower that Empire had there, after that Silent kill at the Roche pit, they would have definitely gone for Roche. So I just wanted to demonstrate how important it is to get that tier 1 tower as a pivotal point of map control, because without it, once again, Next.kz would have been able to secure it, but because they had it, Empire could just rotate in heroes, especially after a buyback at any given time.
Right now, Next.kz, they're trying to split push to deal with this 5-manning of Empire. Next.kz, they're pushing in top, ready to relocate at any time if Empire do try and force a really aggressive fight. But now they've got to back away. They gave away their tier 2 in exchange for a little bit of farming time. Now, Assault Cuirass is picked up by the Alchemist, so that's definitely going to be nice, but I do agree. I guess, like, BKB, I didn't really think about a BKB, but I think it's because I've been burned so many times calling for a BKB on Tiny. I've just given up on it, man. I can't tell you the number of games that I'm like, I think it really needs a BKB. And sure enough, we get like a 6-slotted Tiny that has no BKB whatsoever. But I think you're absolutely right, man. Like, I saw the power. I can't remember which game it was, but it was a day or two ago where we went into late game, and every 60 seconds, Naga Siren was popping her ultimate, and then they followed that up with a 5-second arrow every single time, and it was a killer. Like, arrow still destroys you, even going ultra late game.
Yeah, it's like it's so amazing. Like, it's basically picking a disruptor without having to pick the disruptor. Like the ways you can just punish heroes for being anywhere on the map, like with these long range abilities. Like, all it requires is a little bit of vision. For example, Wisp is the same thing. Like, all you need with Wisp is vision inside the enemy jungle. Anybody who's farming it kind of just gets caught out at one point and dies. Like, it's almost inevitable, because at one point you're gonna forget about that fact. There's so many things to think about Dota inside the game that you're not always going to be paying attention to the most scariest of factors. But as it stands right now, you know, Manus, he has the double damage rune available. He has the mana style available as well, so they're going to look to rotate in if there's an engagement at top. But once again, I don't know. I don't see it happening. Like, there's no way Empire lose this at this point if Tiny doesn't go for a BKB in my head, because so long as they sleep, they can always compose themselves for the 8-second duration and say, okay, we need to land our disables here, we need to land our disables there. We have Darkseer here, we have Enigma here, and we have the arrow coming in from this angle. We can shut down like at least 3 heroes, possibly 4, possibly the entire team if Next.kz are too clumped together. Too clumped. And if they're not, Darkseer can do something about it. So once again, like in terms of teamfight capabilities, Next.kz they don't have that much to mitigate that, and I feel like BKB is just one of those items that they need to be able to mitigate that.
Moonlight Shadow's going to go here from Team Empire, and they are looking for some sort of pick off. They're going to see the Bat Rider here, who's flying around, silent though. Arrow going down. Maybe he didn't see that Bat Rider. He saw the flame trail, and I thought he saw Bat Rider, but it doesn't look like it. He threw an arrow into the secret shop, and it looks like Empire will be fine. They're going to back up. Okay, but going back to that. So what if we did go BKB, right? We win a BKB on Tiny. Wouldn't Empire, all they had to do was just every single sleep combo, they just make sure they get a black hole on the Tiny? Because they have a BKB, there's actually no stuns that can stop Always Wanna Fly at that point.
The thing is, if you force that kind of investment, for one, like if we consider the situation, say that where they get slept and Wisp actually has like the overcharge on the Tiny during the duration, like it's actually good, because a lot of people think like BKB against heroes like Bane, Enigma, Bat Rider is pointless, but it's really not, because those disables are just disables on their own right. If there's no damage coming out, I'm going to hold that thought because Silence just got arrowed.
Oh, Black Hole's going to go down, holding 2 in place. Now they're taking a bunch of damage. Here comes that Riptide as well. Now the wall vacuum too. Mantis, he's still battling up, but he's taking too much damage. He will fall equal. He's trying to get away, but the burn is going to be too much. Now the Fiend's grip on Whatafaka means he's going to stun himself. He gets a resolution in the process, but it's not enough to win the fight. Mantis comes back in after the buyback, but he has no real backup here. It's just him and Bat Rider against all of Empire pretty much. Arrow does land, but Empire, they're just all a little too low to think about trying to go for that really, really greedy kill. So instead, they back up. They won the team fight. There's no need to try and go for that extra kill.
Absolutely. Even though the follow-up arrow landed by Silent, I mean, once again, they were low and it was kind of risky dealing up against the Bat Rider who can just spam napalm charges and be the disruptive force that he is in the fights. But, like, I think that was a really good demonstration too, Cap. Look at how just Enigma blinks up, drops the BKB, and you're right. One of those fears that you mentioned with the BKB came true, is that he would just get black holed up in that situation. But as soon as the Wisp got bursted and AA got downed as well in that situation, like all these other heroes that drop, they drop to magic damage. Tiny is extremely good when it comes to man fights, especially against melee heroes like Naga Siren, because Craggy Exterior has a 100% chance to proc against enemy heroes. Of course, when you're playing the Tiny, then it has 0% chance to proc. But basically, like this ability just makes him almost invulnerable to the physical damage, and right now, like hold that thought against Stockcats initiating once again.
Fanscore's bringing him into the secret shop. Really good pick off there. Moonlight Shadow's going to go down. And Stable Concoction, I love how they're keeping their kind of distance here, playing it real safe. They know they've got the ensured kill. They're just making sure they don't group up and do anything too stupid, especially with the Naga Siren and Enigma on the field. But going back to that, I think you're making a really great point, which is like the BKB, you're still going to be disabled, but looking at all the damage from Empire, it's primarily magical. Like Mirana isn't really known for physical damage, like a whole lot of direct physical damage. Eventually, we get to that point. But,
5-second arrow.
Yep, there it is. Lands on Whatafaka. Without that ultimate, he is so damn squishy, too. Here comes the relocate. That was a good Ice Blast. Can they get anything off of that? The Avalanche will miss. He's being held up by this stun. Malefice is just destroying him. Reeves trying to get that relocate, trying to get the distance, but he won't find it. With 3 seconds left, Silent is still able to pop him. And now the rest of Next.kz looking to try and hold inside their base. Stallcat is still in the enemy jungle, or his own jungle, really. Arrow's going to be able to catch him, though. Silent, double kill off of that Arrow, 15-15, but Empire looking to see if maybe they can finally go uphill and take at least a tier 3 up against Next.kz.
Yep, and you know what? I actually agree with this decision by Resolution. He's rotating to bottom lane. He's proceeding to farm it out. Probably going to use illusions to farm up the jungle as well. It's the perfect call. I mean, you take all these heroes, and you know Tiny doesn't have buyback, so he's not going to play very chest out. Especially without the Wisp, he can't really do much as well without the BKB also. But going back to that fight, like this Tiny rotated in with the Wisp and took 1,400 damage without a hero not a single hero right-clicked him, Cap. Not a single hero right-clicked him, Cap. Entirely from Riptide, from the illusions, from the Radiant Sperm, from a Malefice coming out of the Enigma, as well as the Midnight Pulse. entirely from all these spells, he took 1400 damage, like 2/3 of his HP, life bar just completely gone. And I know, of course, without the Wisp, you can't really say everything. Like, that's not the whole story. It's not the clear picture because Wisp is always going to be there for the tiny. That's why you pick the hero. But I mean, like, it's so hard. It's like fighting an uphill battle and then just make the uphill just becoming a lot more steeper. Like, without this BKB, this hero doesn't do much against the lineup of Empire. It's not just disables you have to worry about, it's the damage that comes out during disables, and right now he has solutions to neither of them.
Well, at the very least, they're going to get a little bit of sustain here out of the Wisp. They're going to have a Valance. They were looking for a pickoff, but Moonlight Shadow was popped. Empire possibly looking to re-engage. Meanwhile, like, they're grouped up as 3 in middle, and then they just continue to go for the split push. Next.kz, they're just trying to buy themselves as much farm as humanly possible. Vlad's is finished, and now Mantis does have 3,300 gold. Now, what do you think he's going to go here? Because it seems like he's not going to go for BKB. What do you think he's actually going to pick up as his luxury item?
Honestly, I'm not too sure, but he just got caught out. The Wisp is here, and the relocate is available. Let's see if... Oh, the Enigma just got bursted. Never mind.
Yeah, maybe they could get Reeves. He needs to be able to relocate out. He doesn't in time, and now Mantis is on the run. He does have some allies coming in, and possibly he will be saved. Oh, no, the arrow hit him. Force Staff. Stallcat tries to do what he can, but now he's in trouble. He's up on the cliff, but he's Fiend's gripped. And he will fall because of that. He tried to save his ally with a Force Staff, put him in a worse position, and put his own hero in a really bad position. Van's Core, once again, every single time, man, it seems like Next.kz, they try and save each other, and Van's Core is always there to punish you. He's like, oh, you thought you could get away with trying to help your ally, but that's not the case. You're actually just feeding away an extra kill.
Now, the one nice thing out of this is that although Empire are getting Roshan, the Alchemist is still relatively big, and he hasn't died also in a while, which is really good because if it ever comes to a point where this tiny can't carry, and it certainly looks like he can't right now because Empire are really big, Alchemist has to kick in. And he has the Hyperstone available, so I think his next item is going to be the Mjolnir, and the Mjolnir is going to prove to be very effective, especially against Naga Siren and Podums, who like to rely on their illusions for a bulk of their damage. Mjolnir just rips them to shreds. So it's going to be a really nice choice so long as they can actually keep their base towers alive.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I'm not normally a fan of, well, lately I'm becoming more of a fan of Mjolnir as that active is pretty insane. But normally I wouldn't be a fan of Alchemist here. I like to normally see that single target damage, but you're absolutely right. Like, the illusions is a big problem for Empire. So if they have that Mjolnir, they're going to burn through a lot of that damage really quickly. And then all you're left with is just a Naga Siren and a Mirana, who are doing well. Like, don't get me wrong, they're hitting pretty hard. But Bat Rider actually catching out the hero. Van's Core, they can bring him back. Oh, the black hole! 4 heroes caught, and they're all going to get ripped to shreds inside of it. What a fucker, though. He got F his ultimate. Look at that heal coming into play. Naga Siren. Man, how did Stallcat as well as Reed's getting away? Yule's Scepter just in time to be able to save him from that right-click damage of Silent. Now always want to fly very, very far forward. Mantis, good Force Staff by Stallcat, putting Mantis in a better position, and they're just helping each other out. Relocate goes down just to make sure that Mantis will survive despite a 4-man black hole there. I thought for sure that both the Wisp as well as the Bat Rider were going to go down because they're just so squishy. I figure guaranteed those heroes will fall, but they were able to survive. It felt like a lot of damage was maybe directed at What a Fuck. I know at least the arrow landed and hit Alchemist inside of that black hole, so that was at least a chunk of damage that was lost because What a Fuck had already blown his chemical rage. At that point in time, you're going to have a hard-ass time killing him.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's the heroes cap. Like, Next.kz, they have a really, really strong late game lineup, and people just give up when they see heroes like Naga Siren getting big. That's not the case. This hero, as well as Priestess, these heroes rely on illusions as well as items to get big, and the thing is, oh, Stallcat.
Yep.
Gets caught out with the sleep is what I want to say, but there's a rotation coming out of next, so...
Arrow will land. Stallcat probably going to fall here, but they're going to get some counter kills. Resolution already very low. There goes that BKB popped by Mantis, pursuing for more, trying to get in range, but Resolution, he's actually getting away here. They don't have any vision to be able to finish him off. That was actually just a free pickoff. Somehow, Darkseer was able to kill the Wisp as well, and now they're actually going to try and turn here. Arrow not going to land on Wannafaka, but it's going to be Mantis who gets held in place by that ensnare. Now the unstable concoction comes in. Mantis, though, is too low to turn anything, and Wannafaka in his attempt once again to help out an ally. Van's Core catches him out. The sleep is enough, and now they're just able to surround him and take him down, especially without Chemical Rage. All of a sudden, you see the big weakness of Alchemist.
So, I mean, judging by that fight, like 4 heroes down on Next.kz, it looks like Empire took that very convincingly in terms of numbers, but really that was a very close fight. Like if Next.kz had played a little bit better, like popping the BKB earlier and landing the tiny toss combo and prioritizing their targets together, because like both their heroes that were chasing the Alchemist as well as the Tiny, at first they were kind of going for different targets. If they had done the focus a little bit better, I feel like they could have actually had a much better fight. But now what ended up happening is this Tiny, who I think is still without buyback. Well, he has the buyback ready, but he doesn't have to go for it anymore because he purchased up the BKB. Yeah, this means that base towers are going to go down for sure. Although I'm doubtful of the Raxus falling here. Actually, you know what? Empire are going to rotate back for the meantime. Although Resolution is rotating in full force with the full heart complete. And that is a dead Reeves.
Yeah, normally this wouldn't be worth a support, but it's a really key one. This Wisp is going to fall, and there goes all of that Tiny damage for the next team fight. That is a huge pickoff. He doesn't have a buyback, so that was absolutely worth it, especially since it's level 3 Song of Siren, so it's going to be up in a short amount of time anyway. Now Tier 3 being threatened very, very low, and they're just slowly but surely sieging it down, whether it's Illusions, we got the Enigma Eidolons coming into play as well, and what a fuck, whoa, way far out here. He's got the Chemical Rage, was definitely saving him a lot of beating here. And without that, Empire easily could have killed him. Now jump in. Wall vacuum goes down. Next.kz backing up a little bit here. But the BKB is popped. Mantis wants to move forward, but Empire just playing him like fiddles. Now the Black Hole holding Mantis in place. The rest of Next.kz on the outside. They abandon their carry. They have the Alchemist at least, but Chemical Rage is down. He's not a very effective carry without that ultimate, and you could see he's tanking a full amount of damage. He will go down. Stallcat may get popped as well. Force staffs himself into the fountain. Equal goes down inside of the fountain. His Resolution goes for the dive, and Empire just playing silly buggers now. Like, they're just diving into fountains when it's not really necessary. They do kill the Bat Rider, but GG, there it is. There's the call from Next.kz. They have no buybacks to be able to defend their base, and all 5 of Empire are still up. They were going to lose way too much, and a comeback was just not really going to be possible. So Next.kz, they do a much better job contesting Empire in Game 2, but it's still not enough to contest the runner-up champs of StarLadder Season 9.
Oh yeah, and honestly, it's unfortunate that it doesn't show in the stats when it comes to kills. Like 29 to 16, it looks somewhat of a stomp, kind of one-sided. But honestly, I think they did a really, really good job. I feel like I want to make 2 points just before I go. Is that one? There was certainly a chance for comeback, and a very huge one at that. I feel like if Next.kz were a little bit more experienced with their rotations, like, you know, especially ones into the enemy jungles and prioritizing certain item choices and recognizing that the disables are something, although they can't bypass, they can certainly mitigate the damage during then. Like if they kind of recognize these things and played as a unit more, I think they could have taken the victory. But the other thing is that, like, I just want to point out the power of this Nagasar and Potom combo. Like, one of the reasons why they were like 2 highest picked top priority heroes at the LAN Star Ladder, as well as among recent Dota and as a whole, it's like this combo. If you think about like the traditional Shadow Demon into Arrow combo, oftentimes you see heroes like supports rotating in, and then like a Dazzle, for example, Cap, who can grave up the target that was disrupted and arrowed, you can actually help them survive. The problem with Nagasaran though is like he will sleep and he will shut down all rotations as well, because if he just stands on top of the target, nobody within 1400 range can come close to even try to save that target. So what happens is anybody that's arrowed will get bursted down immediately with no solutions, with no backup. And it's just such a hard combo to deal with, especially late game when all the other heroes are like on huge death timers and everybody's leveled and vision is lacking because nobody wards after like the 40-minute mark. It's just a really, really tough combination to deal with. So I think Empire did a really good job with their drafts. Once again, I still think that Next.kz had it in the late game, but Empire played their Nagasar to the full. And while I was dubious at the start, I do believe that they have a very strong Nagasaran composition when it comes to their team fights.
Yeah, it was definitely well done by Empire, being able to get over the hump of what was a pretty, I think, like Next.kz, especially with that last team fight. You said it, man. It looked like that team fight. You like look at the outcome. You see like all of Empire were pretty much still alive. Their 2 carries were up and they were getting regen, and they pretty much killed almost all of Next.kz. That one fight by the river, but Nagasarn was really low. The Mirana was really low. If they just prioritized their targets a little bit better, if they'd won that team fight, this could have been a completely different outcome. So it goes to show Next.kz, they've certainly got promise, but that's going to be it for this series, guys. We do have an hour and 10-minute break before we get into Relax You're Doing Fine versus Virtus Pro. That's going to be a very, very fun Russian affair. So you definitely won't want to miss out on that one. But for now, we're just going to have an hour break, and we'll be back with that. Clairvoyance, man, you going to be joining me for the next series, or do you want to do your shout-outs and pimps right now?
Oh no, no, not too much shout outs. I mean, thanks for letting me on board again, but unfortunately I actually have to go.
right.
The plan was I wanted to stay, but I think my throat is kind of giving up, so I think I wasn't too prepared, and it's quite unfortunate. But for now, I'll have to leave you early, Cap. I thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, I hope to see you too, man. It's always a pleasure having you on the cast. So, guys, that's it. An hour until Relax, You're Doing Fine versus Virtus Pro. We'll keep up a little timer and everything like that. But for now, just a short break, and we'll be back.